Hey guys, it's Nadia from LiaDia Designs, and I'm back with another quick video. This is another tips and tricks video because I've had a lot of requests of people asking what types of paints they can use on their resin and also seal under resin, and that it's going to give the same kind of look and effect of the paints and designs that I create. As most of you know, this is what I use for majority of my pieces. It's this Pebeo Cerne Relief, and this is in the gold. So it's an outliner. It has a thin nozzle, so this way you can easily um, create really intricate designs with it. And I know a lot of people have been saying that they've been looking for this, and either they found that it's not really readily available in their area or that it's very expensive. So they've been asking for alternatives for this product. And I've done a video in the past where I kind of quickly touched on that, but I decided to do another video which was much more elaborate. So I'm trying a lot more products because I do feel that there's quite a few products that will work, and depending on the kind of look that you're going for, that they could work for you. So I've I have them here. So we have a range of fabric paints and 3D paints, acrylic paints, and also some textured paints as well, and some glitter. So this way we can kind of test a whole bunch, and it'll give us a good range of understanding of what we can and cannot use. So with that, let's get started. Okay, so the first things that we're going to try, well, actually, the first thing I'm going to do is let's do a little sample of this because we do want to use this as our um, the paint that we're comparing everything to. I have a couple coasters here that already have some resin dried in here, and this is a beautiful pigment. It's a Moonstone pigment from DB Resin Products. I just poured that in just to kind of give us a cool background on our coasters, but let's do, and I'm going to do two coasters because there's a lot of paints here. So we're going to do two, and each of them are in different colors. So this way we can identify them pretty easily on the coasters as well. So let's do a quick, just kind of like a flower petal is probably what I'm going to be doing for most of these, just a really fast design. So we'll just get that in there, one there. We'll do one on this one as well. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to be using my paintbrush to do the flower petal embroidery style because this will show the dimension of the paint. So whether or not it holds its shape once we've done this is going to be a factor as well, because I know a lot of paints are going to just kind of end flattening themselves out, while the paints that I like to use hold their dimension just because it keeps that extra detail in the design. So as you can see, that is what we're looking for, or at least something similar to that. And I'll do the same thing on this one here. So there we go. So it's something like this, like something that's dimensional. It's easy to pipe, and then it's also dimensional. It's going to hold its shape. So even as it dries, it's going to keep this shape here. So that's kind of what we're looking for. And we'll see if these will work in that sense as well. So let's put that on. So we have our original on the top of each of these coasters. And the first thing we're going to try is this 3D paint. So this 3D paint is from Scribbles Pop, and I've used this brand a lot in the past. I used to actually make ornaments, hand painted ornaments, and this was one of my favorite types of paint to use. And like I said, it's a 3D paint, and it does, so I know this one's going to hold its dimension, but I wanted to test it with resin. So yeah, so this one comes in these little bottles, and they actually already have their little dispenser tip at the top. And I'll just make sure that's working. All right, and what I'll do is on this coaster here, we'll add another petal in this shape. Now the nozzle on this is a lot thicker or bigger than the one on the tip of this one. So as you can see, it's quite a bit bigger. So you're going to end up with a lot with a thicker line. Obviously you can press lighter and actually get a thinner line, but it's still going to be probably thicker than the one that than our original. But again, it's at least if we know that this is an alternative, it may not be that much of an issue. So we'll go in and we'll add in our brush strokes to see how it holds, and then we're going to once we leave it to dry, we'll know whether or not it settles or not. So, okay, so there's that one. So we'll put that one back. So that is our 3D paint, and that's in the lavender. The next one I have is a 3D fabric paint. So again, it's similar, but it's more specified for fabric. So again, similar types of products like this I've used, and I have used them on the ornaments that I used to make. But again, those were just left to air dry and they were not covered or sealed under anything. So that's more what I'm testing here is, I know it's a paint, it's going to dry nicely, but whether or not it's going to look nice under, or if it's going to work well under resin on top, in between, layers of resin is what we're trying to test here. So we'll do the same thing here. That's our blue. And these are really pretty pearlescent colors as well. And these paints I normally get from Michael's. I'm sure they might be available at other art stores as well. But like I said, I've had these paints for at least a year or two now, and I usually buy them from Michael's. So, all right. So we have that one. The next one we'll try is another fabric paint. Now this one I wanted to try because I believe, I could be wrong, but I only recently found this one on Amazon. So I wanted to try one that was readily available on Amazon as well, in case you can't find it at your art store. So this is another fabric paint, and it's called Fluorescent Peach, and the brand is Castle, which is new to me. I don't know how long Castle has been around, but it is new to me in terms of this type of paint. So we will add that one in here. And again, all these bottles are very similar in their in the style. So this one is very similar to those other ones where it already has a dispenser, which makes things easier as well for if you just want to buy it and get creating right away. These bottles make it easy. Now, if you do want to get a finer tip, like a finer line than the ones that we're getting here, you can put them in these type of bottles, these dispenser bottles here, which have a much finer the metal nibs. So so that is an option as well. So you could just literally take this and pour it into one of these bottles, and then you have a finer tip as well. So that's always an option if you do want something that's going to give you more detail. But as you can see, it's holding up really well. Like, these are not spreading, they're not flattening out. So these seem like they are a good option. So let's see how this one spreads, or at least kind of, works with the brush strokes. This one's a little bit less cooperative in terms of, creating a really nice clean brush stroke on here. But like I said, for what it is that you're trying to do, you may not be trying to do this type of style, so this may not be relevant. But I'm just doing this so that we can make sure that we are comparing apples to apples, basically. Okay, so we have that, and the next one I wanted to show you is the last of the, oh no, sorry, this is another 3D paint. So this is another Scribbles pot paint, but this is the glitter. So now I don't know, I should probably have checked that. I don't know what the stabilizer is, or I think it's a glue, but I'm not 100% sure what holds the glitter in this. I don't know if it's actually like a type of paint or if it's just more of a glue. And I have found in the past that glitter glues do not work. I mean, they work under resin, but what ends up happening is they yellow very quickly. And that is an issue I had with a piece that I created really early on, actually, when I first started doing resin, and I used some of these types of glitter glue type paints, and within, well, it probably wasn't 6 months, but within 6 months, it completely yellowed, like just the areas with the glitter glue. So I've stayed away from it since then. Now I am going to try this just so that I can test it, but I won't be able to tell right away whether or not it's going to yellow. But I just wanted to give you guys that little bit of caution if you decide you want to try these, because obviously when you go to the store to go buy one of these, you're going to see these on the shelf as well, and you're going to possibly want to try them. So I just wanted to kind of give you a heads up that there might be a chance that this is going to yellow. Now, I will update this video at a later point in time, or if in a few months or a few weeks or a month or whatever that you want to message me and say, hey, how did that, what's going on with that glitter, the glitter gold glue, how did that work with the test? If is it starting to yellow, definitely you can just message me and I'll see if I can just check it to see how it's doing. But in any case, let's test this, because if it doesn't yellow, it's a great way to get glitter on your pieces as well. So let's just get that in here. All right, let's get a bit more on the sides of it thin. All right, so I lost my lid. There we go. Okay. And this one here, actually, going back to speaking about the ornaments that I've created, I'll have to find some pictures, or maybe I'll post them in the video as well. But these work great on ornaments. So if you wanted to use these on just on a surface without having to cover it with the resin, these are awesome for that. So, all right. So we have one flower, I guess that's a flower, on this one here. And then we'll do the same with this side as well. Actually, what I'll do is, this is the last of the fabric paint, so I'm just gonna add that one to this too, but I'll just do it as like a petal or something. So I added a little bit of this. Now this paint is, it's a fabric paint, 3D fabric paint, and it's called Plush. Now, this is just something I had in one of my paint bins, and I haven't actually tried it to see what the finish is like, to see if it's actually plush or if it's just, kind of more of a matte type of paint. So we'll see how that looks once it's dry. And I think the bottle I have here, it doesn't have very much in it, so let me see if I can maybe add some more. Okay, so we're all set. And so the pins are in here because these nozzles are pretty thin, and what ends up happening is the paint will just get dried inside there. So the pin is great because it kind of keeps that nozzle clear, and it's a great way to store it. So that's the reason why for that. So let's just go ahead and we will, I'll just do a center of this blue. All right, so we'll just do a little centerpiece here, and we'll put our pin back. Okay. Flower's completely off center, but that's fine for testing purposes. All right, so we'll just do the same thing here, where we're gonna move the paint inwards and see what we end up with. Okay, now out of all the ones that we've tried here so far, this one does seem to be more watery. It is not wanting to hold the shape. It's already kind of flattening out. So we'll see what happens there. All right, so we have that one done, and we can do this coaster now. All right, so that moves us away from all of our 3D and fabric paint. So that's what was on that side. And like I said, we can kind of get an idea of how those are going to dry already. So we'll see how that goes. And now we have acrylic paint. So this is just basic, it's Liquitex Basics acrylic paint. So this is just, a regular paint that you can find pretty much anywhere. And I used it straight out of the container. I didn't mix it with anything. So that's what's in this bottle here. And again, I put them into these bottles. Now this, as you can see, it has, a pretty big area here for the hole, and it wouldn't necessarily easily go into this bottle, which is pretty small as well. So what I did do is I, used kind of a little plastic piping bag. You can use a Ziploc bag or whatever, poured some of this paint in here, and then cut a little hole, and then poured it into here. So this way it's a bit more controlled, and it would fit into the hole without making a huge mess. So that is how I did that. And all right, so this is again just regular acrylic paint. It's funny that we did purple here, and we're going to do purple here as well. So All right, so we'll go ahead and we'll pipe that. Now these bottles, they're, I don't know if it's the paint or just the thinness of the nozzle, but probably a mixture of the two, but these are a little bit more difficult to, you have to put a little bit more pressure. It's not more difficult, it's just a little bit more pressure. And the more pressure you add, especially when it's a little bit difficult, it will cause your lines to be a little bit more shaky. So just keep that in mind as well. So this particular bottle I found, well, all of these I found on Amazon, but these ones come with a standard sized tip, whereas as you can see, these ones here are larger, so you can have interchangeable tips. So there are options. So this way they have bigger tips, so this way thicker paints can go through them a little bit easier. Or if you're finding you're struggling with this type of tip, which is smaller, just move to a larger one. It will make more paint come out, but it also will just be easier on your hands over time as well, so that you're not, just squeezing and, hurting your hand and causing, squiggly lines when you don't really need to. You don't need to put that much effort into that. So we'll just go in and add our brush strokes here. And as you can see, that looks really cool as well. So even just a base, regular acrylic paint seems to really work well. Now, this one I have here is just a flat color. I do know that they do have metallic colors in this line as well. So just, if you're looking for metallic, just go for those ones. But as you can see, even the flat colors are really nice. Okay, so for the next one, we're going to be using this one here, which is the Deco Art. This is the Dazzling Metallics acrylic paint. So this is you can actually hear it. This is a much thinner paint, so I don't think it's going to keep its dimension, but just as an option, and because it does have some really nice metallic colors, I wanted to show you guys this option as well. So this is a really pretty like wine color. Okay, so, and as you can see, this one this one I didn't fill the bottles, so that's why it's running low already. So you can see the flow of this one comes out of the bottle a lot easier, but that also means that it's a lot thinner and the chances of it holding its shape is a lot less. So so you can see here it's a very thin paint. It's not going to hold its dimension at all. It's going to completely flatten out, which again, depending on what you're trying to accomplish in terms of your design, you may not need the dimension. So we're just testing this for, how compatible is it with the resin. So there's that one. And this one's flowers turning out a lot smaller. And then the last two I have, these are textured paint. So this one is called, you might have noticed this in my last video, this is the Folk Art Extreme Glitter acrylic paint. Now I used the blue version of this in my previous, this is the silver. And as you can see, it's paint, it's basically, like a paint, but it is mostly glitter or a lot of glitter. And this one's really thick. So I mentioned this in my last video. This one's a lot thicker, and it's even thicker than it normally would be because I have had this for a few years and I haven't really been using it. So it's a lot thicker than it probably is when it's like a brand new bottle. So keeping that in mind, I did find it quite difficult to pipe it out of these bottles, even with this really large tip. I was finding it very difficult just because like I said, it's a little bit older. Ow, it's a little bit older. Okay, so let's give this one a try and see. We'll put it on this side. So this one, I'm gonna have a lot of trouble getting it out of this bottle. So it might be actually just better off taking it right out of and using a paintbrush to get it out of that bottle. And again, I think it's because mine is older. I don't know if this was a new bottle, if I would have the same troubles, but for the purpose of this video, we're just going to try it. So, all right, so we have that there mixed in with my gold. All right, but again, this is a really nice paint, like I said, when it's new. So definitely, you know, if it's something that you're looking for glitter, it's really neat. And then you just, same thing, just kind of brush it. As you can see how thick it is, like it's not wanting to move too much, but it'll work. All right, and I do believe that's going to hold its shape because, as I said, if you saw my last video, you'll have seen how that one works and how well it held its shape. And this last one is, again, one that I used in my last video. It's the Deco Art texture dimensional metallic paint. And again, this is a thicker paint. It's a thicker paint here as well. And it holds, I know definitely it's going to hold its dimension. Piping it again is not the easiest thing. So it's probably better for when you want to, you know, just kind of paintbrush your design on. But we will try it just for the sake of trying. And again, I have to clear out the tip just because it does get dried out. So we'll just do this, clear that out. Okay, so there we go. So we'll go ahead. And as you can see, it is difficult to pipe out of this just because it is such a thick paint. This nozzle here is actually bigger than this one. So this one actually might work better with this. It's just this one I knew I wasn't going to be able to use a thinner tip on. So I wanted to make sure that one got it. And this one I was just going to kind of just deal with it. But again, let's just go in and do this. So there we go. And out of all the paints that I'm using, and again, this one I'm using here, it might be a little bit on the thicker side because it's an older bottle. And if you use the bigger tip, it might actually work well. There's options of thickening and thinning paint as well, but I just wanted to give you guys the options straight out of the container. So this way we're not, you know, having to worry about proportions of mixing it with, you know, thinner or a thickener. So I just wanted to give you guys the, you know, the basic, just this is what it is, and knowing straight out of the bottle what you're getting. So there we go. Out of all of them, I do think actually texture wise, like any of these fabric paints are actually very similar. And even the acrylic here is very similar in terms of the dimension as the as our original Pebeo. So these are definite great options. I mean, if you look at these three right here, you can't tell the difference between which one was the Pebeo, which one was the fabric, and which one was the dimensional or the fabric paints. Like they look, especially because they're metallic, like they look exactly the same. So there's that option. But again, just remember that with these, we do have the thicker nozzles. So if you want to have the fine lines, put them into these bottles with the smaller tips. So this way you can get that detail if you're looking for detail. But in terms of the quality of the, you know, the finished look of the paint, as you can see, that looks very similar here. And also here you can see with the acrylic paints, like this is the acrylic, just basics Liquitex paint here. And then this was just the non-pearlescent 3D fabric paint. And those look really similar there. And of course you have these ones here. So the only one out so far, well, two out of this set that I've tried that don't look like they would hold their dimension as well is this, you know, the plush fabric paint here. and then the dazzling metallics here. Now, not saying they don't work with resin and not saying that you can't still use them. It's just that they won't hold the dimensional detail as well as the other ones that we're trying here. So, and you can also tell that really, like if you can hold a bottle like this and just shake it and you can hear the paint moving in there, chances are it's too, it's too liquefied. So this way it's going to do something like this. This one holds its shape a little, but it's not as much as, the other ones around it. So we'll leave these to dry, and once they're dry, we'll come back in and we'll pour resin over them, and then we'll let that cure overnight. And then we'll be able to check, in better detail which ones work the best, if any of them are having any issues with resin, and we'll go from there. All right, see you then. Sorry, I'm back. I wanted to check one more thing before we go, because we do have one spot here, and I was thinking, what else could we kind of throw in the middle there? And I have this sitting on my desk. So nail polish. Now, I've heard a lot of people talk about nail polish with resin. So obviously this is going to be way too thin for dimensions. I'm not doing this for the dimensions, but let's just put it in the center here as a test for just how it works under resin. All right, so we'll just do this. And this is a brand new bottle I just got. So you guys are seeing it here first on a resin coaster rather than on my nails, but that's all right. All right, so anyway, this is an Essie brand nail polish I just got actually. So again, as you can see, that completely flattened out. There's no detail at all in that paint, in the nail polish. But again, we're just doing that just to kind of see how it's going to hold up. And just for fun, just because I have it here in front of me, let's grab a little bit of sparkle and put it in the middle, just for fun. So, and this is my dots. These are holographic silver dots from Resin. Oh, too many. All right, put the rest away, but there we go. So we have our two coasters with our little flowers on it, and we will see how they look once they dry and under resin. Hey guys, it's been a couple hours and I want to just give you guys an update, because I just realized there's another factor here that we should be considering for our paints. And again, it's been about 2.5 hours since I videoed the painting part of this video, and I just came back to check on everything. And I wanted to mention, so this coaster here, pretty much all of the paints, which were all of our acrylic paints, so like the regular Liquid X Basics, the Deco Art Metallics, and then the Extreme Glitter and the Americana Decor Texture. And obviously this is the Pebeo. All of these are dry, and even including the nail polish. Like everything is completely dry and ready to touch. So it's been about 2 to 2.5 hours. So technically at this point, I would feel comfortable putting resin on this coaster here, just because everything is dry. Like you can press it, there's no moisture still in the paints. So that is that there. But this one here, this is all of our fabric paints. These ones are all still quite, tacky or sticky or whatever. So I would not feel ready to paint to resin over these yet. So see, I just touched that and my finger caught on it because it's still kind of sticky. So again, I just smudged it. There you go. You can see proof that it's not dry. So yeah, so I just wanted to show you guys that as well. So I would probably leave these for at least another 3-4 hours to finally get them to the point where they feel like they're completely dry. Some paints do say to leave them as much as 12 hours. And again, I think it comes down to how thick the paint is on there, but because generally most of this is pretty thin, really it's just that, the outer edges are a little bit thicker. So I would just be checking the outer edges. And one other thing to note as well, just from my own personal experience from using the fabric paints on the ornaments, these never become completely hardened. Like they will dry, but they'll always be kind of on the softer side. So like I would be able to, even once this has been dry for 12 hours or whatever, they will still be something where you can stick, push your nail into it and it'll still kind of leave a little bit of a dent. It will rebound, like it won't keep the dent in it, but it doesn't dry the same way. The fabric paints don't quite dry the same way as regular acrylics, where with these I would be able to put my, after 12 hours I could try to indent them and it's not really going to do anything too much, whereas these ones um, will always kind of have a bit of a sponginess to them. So that is a difference as well. So we're not looking at sponginess for these to dry. We're just looking at how if they're sticky or tacky, or like I said, in this case, I actually was able to smudge it. You want to give these probably double, maybe even triple the time that you're giving regular acrylics to dry. So just keep that in mind. So if speed that in terms of time of drying is a factor for you, then as much as I think that these are look really nice in terms of very similar to the Pebeo, if speed is an issue, then maybe go with the acrylics, the regular acrylics like the basics, Liquitex and things like that. But if you, like I said, if you have the time, so far these ones are looking really nice. It's just they need longer to dry. All right, I'm gonna let these continue to dry and I'll be back in probably about 3 or 4 hours to do resin. Okay guys, so we're back and we have our coasters now with the top coat of resin on them. I'm just going to actually take them out of the mold. They've been in here for a little bit over, I don't know, actually 12 hours about now. So they've had a good amount of time to cure. So we have that one and we have this one. All right. And in terms of the drying time for the actual paints, I actually let them all dry for about 12 hours. Actually, probably even a bit more than that because I just figured I wanted to make sure they were thoroughly dry. I didn't want to take any risks to kind of mess up the experiment. So I made sure everything was thoroughly dry. So I gave them, more than ample enough time. So let's consider the results now. First, let's look at this coaster here, which is our fabric paint. So again, this was our original Cerne Relief. So this is the one here that I normally use. And then these are the other fabric type paints or the dimensional paints. So we had these guys here up to this one, I believe is what we were doing. So we have the dimensional paint and the fabric paint, and then this is the non-pearl fabric paint, and this is the glitter dimensional paint. So in terms of the look, as you can see here, actually both of these, the 3D paint and the fabric paint that were pearlescent, actually look the most like this gold paint that the Cerne Relief paint here in terms of texture, color, shine. Pretty much everything is pretty much spot on for those ones there. And then the this is the matte, so the fabric paint, but it doesn't have any pearlescence to it, and the glitter, and then this was the plush in the middle here. So as you can see, they still work. As you can tell, like you can still see how well they work under the resin. There's no weird interactions happening or anything like that, but it is more of a flat look. So if you are looking for more of a flat look and not something pearlescent, these definitely could work for you as well. And the glitter, as you can see, looks beautiful here as well. And that was this one here. It does look beautiful here as well. And again, I just want to keep my eye on it to make sure it's not going to yellow over the next few weeks. So I will keep an eye on that and I'll update you guys if there's an issue for any reason. But Right now it looks amazing. So these ones so far, I think our two-dimensional paints, our fabric paint and dimensional pearlescent paint they just seem to be winners here on this coaster. So, but like I said, all of them do work. So it really comes down to the look that you're going for. The plush one, if we look at it closely, you actually can kind of tell that it's not um, it actually kind of has a different texture to it. So maybe there is something to that plush paint where you do get a different look and it kind of gives it a softer, fuzzier kind of look. You do get something similar with this fabric paint as well. So those two are similar in that aspect. But so there's that one. And then this one here, we have all of our other paints. So this is our um, just regular acrylic paint. We have our metallic, and then we have the texture paints, which are the extreme glitter acrylic paint and the texture dimensional metallic. So as you can see here, the acrylic like I said, again, everything looks like it's interacting well under the resin. It's just the acrylic here. Again, we kind of lost a lot of the detail that we're seeing in some of these other ones. They kind of flattened out. You're not seeing a lot of the dimension of the paint or the brush strokes there, and it does look flat. And again, I think it has a lot to do with the fact that it's not a pearlescent paint or a metallic paint. It's because it is a flat color, so we're just not seeing too much of the dimension there. Even though we know that it had some dimension, with the resin going over it, it seems like it just kind of muted it, so we don't see it too much there now. And then this one here was our metallic, but this was the thinner paint that we saw that it wasn't holding any dimension. And as you can see here, it's still, you can see the brush strokes, but it's not actually holding any dimension. So even though it's metallic or it's pearlescent, it's because it wasn't thicker, we're not getting that same effect. This was our dimensional metallic paint, and as you can see, it worked out really well. It's actually pretty similar to this. As I was mentioning when I did it, it was a little bit harder to work with just because I think it was a little bit thicker than this paint, and it might just be thicker too because it's an older paint that I had. So but it does obviously look very similar, so it's definitely a good option for those of you who want to consider a gold. um, and then we have our silver. Now, I don't know if you can see it on camera. This is the only one I have a question about if it's really super compatible with the resin or not, because it has a bit of a fuzzy, even though it's glitter, because we had the glitter on this one as well. And you see how clear the gold looks? But on this one, for some reason, the silver has kind of a fuzzy look to it. So I don't know if it's having an odd interaction or reaction to the resin. It's really hard to tell. I mean, it's not super noticeable, but there's something about it that doesn't look as crisp as some of the other options. So that one I'm going to keep an eye on as well and see, because again, it's a glitter type paint, and I'm not really sure what the medium is that it's saying it's acrylic, but I'm not sure what the medium is it's actually holding the glitter in place. So I'm going to keep an eye on that as well and see if something changes with that over time. And then of course in the middle we have our nail polish, and that looks great. Again, just definitely no dimension to that nail polish. It completely flattened out. But again, just so you know, you can use nail polish under resin, and it doesn't seem to be a problem at all. So, so yeah, so those are all of our tests. And again, just from looking at it again, if you're trying to find something that mimics the Cerne Relief, the Pebeo outliner, my recommendation would probably to go with with these dimensional paints here, either the pearlescent fabric paint or the 3D paints. And these are, well, where I am, these are actually pretty easy to find. So hopefully they are easy to find for you guys as well, where you are, whether at hobby stores like Michael's or any of the other types of art stores that kind of do arts and crafts. I believe these are a little bit easier to find. I'll double check on Michael's as well, sorry, on Amazon as well, and see if they're available there. And I think they probably are. So I'll just take another look for that. But yeah, so I think those, and because again, the consistency of the paint was very similar to the Cerne Relief as well, a little bit on the thinner side, but with But because the nozzle was bigger, we weren't having as much accuracy with the painted lines. But again, as I was mentioning, we can actually take these and put them right inside the dimensional paint bottles and the precision bottles. So this way you can actually get the same kind of precision with this paint as you would get with this here. It's just a matter of getting used to these bottles. They're a little bit different to use than the tubes, just, how you hold them and things like that. But overall, I believe you're going to be able to get a very similar effect if you take this and put it in this bottle here. So, and again, like I said, the fabric paint is very similar. And like I said, if you're doing any other brand, if you're using any of the other brands, maybe not a brand that you see here, just do a quick test and see how it works. I basically, from this test, from what I can tell, pretty much, well, I don't want to say any, but most acrylic paints seem to work really well under the resin. The main key factor is to let it fully dry. Don't try to rush it and pour your resin top coat before it's fully dry, because I have done that in the past. And that's when we end up where we have some strange interactions if there's still moisture in the paint and then we try to resin on top of it. So that's one of the main things I want to just point out as well, is that especially if we are using these type of paints, these ones did need longer time to dry than anything on this side. These ones were dry. They dried a lot faster than the ones on this side. But again, I think it's because it is dimensional and it's holding it's holding the texture, it's holding the brush strokes, and it just takes a little bit longer to fully kind of dry itself out. So I think it's worth it though. If you time yourself well, give yourself enough time to let this dry. Like I said, I would give it, 12 hours, maybe, a full day if you have that kind of time. So this way you're going to get that effect and you're not going to have any reactions under the resin. And yeah, so that would be my recommendation, is go here. But like I said, any of these look like they can work. And depending on the type of, of art that you're trying to create, there's lots of options here. And then, if you want embellishments and things like that, lots of options. So in any case, I will keep you guys updated if there's any changes in what I see with these coasters. I will keep them, in my studio and just keep an eye on them and see if things change over time and give you guys an update on that. But for now, I think these are all, good recommendations. And yeah, so let me know what you guys thought. And, which one out of all the options do you think work best, or do you think you would be willing to try in your pieces? And or if there's any others that you've tried that you want to recommend to me, or you want me to test or try, in the comments, let me know what those are, and I'll try to look, try to find them, track them down, and I can do a part 2 to this video if you guys want, if there's other types of paints you want me to try and test. And once again, just so you guys know, I am using Counterculture's 1-to-1 resin, and I use their Artist Thin viscosity for these type of projects. So that gives you an idea of the type of resin I'm working with as well. So I'm not using, super watery casting resin or anything like that. The resin I use, once I mix it, it needs to be poured and starts to set within 30 minutes. So that's how fast my resin starts to cure. So that may be a factor here as well. I'm not sure if you have resin that takes days to cure, like if it takes, 24 hours or 48 hours to cure, if that would have a different impact with this. I don't think so. Like I said, if these are fully dry, if the paint is fully dry, I don't think it would have an impact, but you never know. Sometimes there could be interactions in that case. But with mine, because mine starts to set within 30 minutes, I think that helps hold everything and kind of seals it in quicker. So that's something to keep in mind as well. Anyways, guys, I'm gonna go. So I hope you guys found this video helpful. If you did, let me know in the comments what you thought. And again, let me know what your favorite out of these options were. And if there's any others that you've tried or would like to try or you want me to try, let me know in the comments as well. All right, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.